Hello and welcome to the Rock and Road to Success. Today I have my friend Boris. He's from Germany but lives in Montenegro right now. He's a full stack web developer. He knows a lot about tech. So we're going to discuss living as a foreigner in Montenegro, discuss his childhood dreams, the differences in culture between Montenegro and more Western countries, the new technologies that are rising, and a lot of other stuff. So, Boris, thank you for coming, man. You
Yeah,
were
no.
talking to me that you had a little technical problem with your cats before we could start. How was that?
Yeah, so basically, I was resting a little bit in my bed, and it doesn't happen too often that my cats occupy and block my, how do you say, blanket. But this time they did, so I couldn't really stand up because I had not only one cat, but two cats on my blanket, and it was kind of fate, so I spent a little time with them and everything, but then I jumped on this podcast. And my cat is still with me, but this time next to me, Luna.
She's a very big cat.
So I have three cats, and just to pick up on that point with the big one, Luna is the, how do you say, the one that eats the most. So she's eating all day long. She loves eating, yeah. So yeah, regarding my visa, basically, when we moved here to Montenegro, and with we, I mean me, my brother, and my mother, you only get a permit for 1 year, and after this 1 year, you have to renew it again and again and again until 5 years. After 5 years, you get the chance to have your temporary residence permit turn into a permanent residence permit, which you don't have to renew every year. But it's for me still a long way to go because I'm only here for 1 year. So that's why every year you have to renew it. And we had quite a lot of trouble this time with taxes because the when we came here, we were told that it's possible to work quarter time, and now it's a big problem because you have to work full time. We had to change all that, had to pay taxes, penalty, and all that shit. So it was not too pleasant, but I know now how to do it right, and I will make sure that next year we don't have those issues anymore, hopefully. Unless they change something else which will mess everything up. We will see.
Which might happen.
Yeah.
And, you know, like we were talking before, Montenegro is a place where a lot of digital nomads or solopreneurs go to live.
Yeah.
And why did you guys choose Montenegro? And do you know of other entrepreneurs that live there because of the beaches, or what are the reasons that
Yeah.
attract so many people to Montenegro?
Yeah, I think what Montenegro has going for them is that they are very business friendly in general. So when you want to go to other countries, for example, oftentimes you have strict requirements to stay. You have to maybe even make an investment in the country and all that stuff. And here, Montenegro, basically all you have to do, and it sounds like also behind this is a whole tale of other things. So it shouldn't sound like you just need to open up a company and that's it. You also need to work in that company. You also need to, make a good living, pay all the taxes, pay your accountant, and all that stuff. But in general, it's rather easy to start here as a digital nomad or as a web development company, for example, because you need to open up a company, and that company can get you that work permit for 1 year, which you then have to renew, of course. But in general, Montenegro makes it kind of easy to start a new life. Let's put it like this. And that was a big reason why we went for it. Another reason is because it has a better proximity to Germany than Portugal, for example. And the thing is, we have those cats, and those cats were from Germany. We now also have a dog. We adopted him from the Montenegrin streets, so he was not there before, but our cats were there before, and we didn't want to put our cats on a plane because we just felt like it would maybe, I don't know, break something in them, that they don't like it at all, and they have to be alone in that room with those other pets and whatever. Like, I wasn't even sure how it works, so we basically ended up going here with a caravan. And you can drive from Germany to Montenegro with a caravan, but it's more difficult to drive from Germany to Portugal with a caravan because it's a lot longer. So that's why basically it was a few factors, but it was also a bit of luck and just gambling, just taking a deep dive, and seeing where it ends up. And so far, we didn't regret it at all. And we are in a lovely space and with lovely people around us that are supporting us. And yeah, we are super happy so far.
What do you guys like most about Montenegro?
So I would say two things. One thing is, of course, the beautiful and stunning nature. Like even if you are at the beach area, at the coastal area, then you have beautiful beaches all over the country. You have the Adria, which is a very clean and very beautiful sea. So that is basically one part of the equation. And another part is that the people over here are pretty based, I'd say. So they have a strong sense for family. They have a strong sense for morality, and they are just genuinely good people, I feel. And it's a bit of a refreshment to those Western countries, where people behave often as if there was no God over them, watching them. And I feel like the people here, they are a lot more grounded into this moral compass, um, of being a good person, of being a person of honor, of having a family and all that stuff. So yeah, it's great. You get along really good. They don't speak so good English at times, so you have really a big part of the population that can't even understand you. But I mean, you are a foreigner, so it's your task then to learn their language, right? And I'm doing that a bit, but to be honest, I'm not really. It's not my whole focus, but it gets better by the day, and that's what counts, I guess.
Yeah, man, I see that in more Eastern European countries or in the Balkans, people are much more based. And
Yeah,
I think the culture is very different from more Western European countries or the US, for
yeah,
example.
yeah, yeah,
And also learning the language, how is that being for you? Because it's very different from German. So
yeah,
I
absolutely.
assume it's not that
So
easy to learn.
yeah, I don't know how difficult the Serbian language is if you want to know everything, like also the grammatical stuff. Like, for example, in Germany, like in English, you have one article and that is the. And in Germany, you have 20. You have der, die, das, dessen, deren, and it goes on, list goes on. So, but still, if someone is in Germany and he only says das, then you still can understand him, right? So, if you ask me how difficult it is to get along here with the language, I'd say the language is not too difficult. For me personally, the most important part, and I think also that goes for a lot of other people, is knowing the numbers. Because if you are in the grocery store and you're paying, then they will always say a number, right? They will always say how much it costs. And if you don't know the language, then it can easily happen that you end up getting not enough money back, or you just accept the price that's just too high, but you don't know the number, right? So you just give the money and then you end up wondering yourself why it didn't fit, right? And that's why when you know the numbers and you have a bit of negotiation skills, then you can better get better prices. You can be like, wait, you want this and that much euro? Well, I think that's too much, blah, blah, blah. It depends, of course. Sometimes you don't get the cheaper price, but I think as a tourist, especially, I mean, everyone that sees me thinks I'm a tourist. No one thinks that I'm a native, right? And I will never be a native, but also no one thinks that I'm living here, right? And that we moved our whole country of residence from Germany to here. But when they see you as a tourist, still they treat you a bit different. They might give you higher prices, and that's where the numbers come in. That when you at least know how much they want, you have a good basis for negotiation and everything. So the numbers are pretty important, and else the language is, I think it's not too difficult of a language to learn. It's just that I didn't have the motivation yet, let's say it like this, to really put aside like 1 hour a day or 2 hours to learn it.
So, did you get any Montenegrin friends or with other digital nomads? Have you met some other people over there or not so far?
I've met a lot of people over here, and like I don't want to sound hostile or anything, but for me, a big learning from the initial people I met was that I don't want to be around these people anymore. And now the people that I have around me are a lot more native. So you have to understand that in Montenegro there's also a lot of German people, because Montenegro and Germany, they kind of have a special relationship, I guess. And it was always like Germans were always here accepted, buying real estate and whatnot. And I had a lot of German contacts in the beginning, and I just over and over got shown by life why I went out of Germany. And you have to understand, here are Germans that come here and they want to build a second Germany here. So they don't want to engage with the natives or anything. They just want to have their little Germany here in their like location where they are. And I distanced myself completely from that branch, and now I have people around me that are native, that are not German speaking, but Serbian speaking, Russian speaking, English speaking, and all that. And it goes well, but I still haven't met any nomads yet that also like that are in my age and also do business here in the way that I do it. So I'm always open to meeting those people as well. And but I haven't yet have a big network of other nomads. I would lie if I said I have. So
Yeah, man, I can feel you because I did live in Germany for a while, a few years ago, and I remember going to Mallorca, and there were so many Germans there, and they were behaving
yeah,
as if they were in Germany. And I
right,
think
right.
that's quite common.
Yeah, right. I like a big issue that I have with German people in general. Like not in general, you can never generalize on a whole nation, but what I just see a common pattern in many German people is that they have a sense of entitlement. They think that they are there. But the truth is, we are all equal and no one's worth more than someone else. And just because you're coming from Germany and you may have a good income, and Germany is a good country on the international stage, that doesn't entitle you to behave like a dick. So just be humble and uh, don't don't be entitled just because you are German, because you're really not, I'd say.
Yeah, that's funny, man.
Yeah, and I
So,
say this as German myself, so I I'm not racist towards Germans. I can say this to my own people. because I also saw how Germans were treating one another when there was COVID, and I'm kind of disappointed in all that, but that's another topic on its own. But I'm just preaching that Germans, that they get more into touch with one another, and more into a peaceful, friendly manner, because I feel like Germans pretty splitted at the moment between uh, between different people with different thoughts, and I just think that you should uh, aim for peace and harmony, and not be too arrogant or cocky, because uh, God's watching you, maybe.
Yeah, man. And if we can go back a bit to more of like your childhood things, the things you were obsessed with when you were a kid in Germany, what would you say were the things that you really loved when you were a kid and that
Yeah,
you were always wanting to do or to play with or to, what were the things that you loved?
it's actually very cool that you bring this up, because for me, reflecting on my childhood is something like a thing that I want to do more in order to find out what really makes me happy about coding, right? Because when you can code, like I do, then you can code anything you want, right? So you could code a bank website, but you could also code a trading card game. It's basically all in the scope of coding, right? And I find myself struggling with doing things that I really burn for, that I'm so passionate about, because more often than not, I start something, a website, I bring it out, a productized website, and then I just lose motivation, and it doesn't feel fun anymore to go in that code base and maintain it, because my it's not my heart desire that I did. So I want to find out what that is, and maybe you can help me there with your perspective. But as a child, I really loved Yu-Gi-Oh!, Star Wars, and when I was a toddler, I loved puzzling. So it's actually like I was a child that, with 3 or 4 years, wanted to solve puzzles with 500 pieces, where other children my age, they wanted to solve, I don't know, puzzles with 10 pieces, to just have that effect of accomplishment and just to solve a little challenge. And I was like, no, 10 is not enough. Give me 100. And then I solved the 100 thing in one day and was like, no, that's not enough. Give me more, So obviously, I was pretty um, enthusiastic about puzzling a lot. And then when we were not toddlers anymore, but more like how do you what's the next step from toddler? Like when you are 10 or
A
9,
child?
10, 11.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a child.
Like a
Yeah. So
preteen?
when I was, a preteen, a child, then we were basically every day out playing with sticks, playing Star Wars with sticks, watching Star Wars, playing Yu-Gi-Oh cards, playing other trading cards, playing with Lego minifigures, trading one Star Wars figure for another Star Wars figure. Um, then, of course, there were these little wars breaking out because someone stole your lightsaber, and it was him, but he didn't admit it. And the next day, he was selling it to the next guy on the. So it was like we were this group of people, and we were just enjoying life as it should be as children, just playing around and trading things, I guess. Maybe that is the topic that I should pursue, because now that I think about it, it always had to do with I trade one of my against one of your. So maybe I should start there.
Yeah, like you said, since a small child, you always liked little puzzles and challenges, and you kind of can see the little coder inside of you already with these
Yeah,
puzzles.
yeah.
It's funny that you
No,
mentioned Yu-Gi-Oh because I have a friend that's obsessed with Yu-Gi-Oh
yeah.
and he goes to tournaments and he buys and sells the cards up to this day.
Yeah, yeah. So what I really like about Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that it's such a versatile game, you know. It's never that you reach the point in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where and that is by design, obviously, where you say, now I have the best deck and can beat everyone. Like maybe you are at that point, but then someone else comes around the corner with a counter deck to your deck, and he's gonna beat you, and then you need a new deck to beat him again. So it's like this tournament, and it's such a it has unlimited possibilities almost in terms of what you do. I'm not that deep into it, so I can imagine that by now maybe the game is a bit broken. You know that you have to bring out more OP cards to beat the old good cards, and now the to beat those OP cards, you need even more overpowered cards. That's often in those games that the balance gets lost. So no idea on that. I haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh for quite some years, but as a child, it was really fun. Definitely. When you didn't take it that serious as well, you know, it was not like it was more of a child thing, right? So it wasn't that serious. It was more like, come on, let's play a game and see who can beat who and who attacks who. Sometimes we also played with three people, so then you had two people going shooting against one, and yeah, it. We didn't have anything that we didn't do as children. I think as children you are just unlimited in your imagination and everything, and you sometimes as an adult I wish I had that thing back, you know, of just doing something and not worrying about anything at all, just doing it, bringing it out, and yeah, being proud of it, you know. I think as an adult uh, the fun gets a bit lost, but it's your choice. Of course, you can turn the tables upside down, you know, and still have fun as an adult. But still, I found it to be a bit easier as a child when you didn't have all those thoughts in your head limiting you, or, you know. But as an adult, therefore, you have way way more capabilities. Like you have maybe more of the negative in your brain, but you also have more of the positive in your brain. As a child, I couldn't code a website. Now I can, right? So I think it's just part of growing up that you realize that you have this brain and it can be good and it can be bad. And I try to just not yeah, to just get that child feeling back of just not worrying about things.
Yeah, I think that's something that we should strive for to be more childlike in the sense, like you asked, what really makes me happy? And I think one thing we do as adults is that we take things too seriously sometimes. So we
Yeah,
sort of forget that we can do something for the sake of it or because it gives us joy, and we sort of lose the playing side of things. Sure, we might
yeah,
distract ourselves with Netflix or something like that, but we sort of lose that more, yeah, that playing thing, that more,
yeah,
how can I say it in English? Kids take things much less seriously, more lighter. I see it a lot in those more entrepreneurial type of people like we are, that we take things too seriously and we're always thinking, oh, but how can I grow? How can I monetize? How can I do this and that? And
yeah,
we're never satisfied. And it's good for in a way because we're always striving for more. We are always trying to learn to do new stuff, but we're also never happy. So I think it's
yeah,
something we should try to balance a bit more.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you if you don't reflect yourself as an adult, then you will find yourself in a spiral where, as you said, you're never happy. You do something and then you think you're happy for one day because you reached a milestone, you satisfied a client, you got your salary, you went shopping, whatever it may be, right? So it's this short high that you then get from the dopamine, and but then it goes back to baseline, and now you need the next thing. You'll be like, okay, what now? Where's the happiness now? I have a Lambo now. Okay, I'm happy speeding on the highway, 200, whatever. But 7 days later, that Lambo is the new normal, right? So then we're chasing the next kick and the next kick and the next kick. And as it is with highs, it also means you have lows, right? Because life is always polar. Maybe that's the right term. So without light, there's no darkness. Without day, there's no night, etc., etc. So without those highs where you're feeling on top of the world because you're in love, because you bought some new stuff, whatever, also comes the low where you're maybe depressed and all that. And I think as an adult, and I think that applies for everyone, the biggest challenge is to let go of those short term highs and lows, to stop being in that wheel of euphoria and pain, and instead to come into a state where you are basically happy with life no matter what, and don't let life drag you up or down anymore. And unfortunately, that also means that like you don't carry yourself up so much anymore. I mean, you're automatically going up. I think if you live this stoic lifestyle of being happy and being grateful and everything, you will go up for sure. But you won't have that high as if you just ingested a drug, for example. So you don't get those big highs anymore if you decide for that type of life, but you also don't get the lows anymore. And I think a lot of people are constantly in that state of chasing the next high, avoiding the next low, chasing the next high, avoiding the next low. And I think it is with responsible for a lot of problems we have in this world, because we are all just focused on doing the next thing, reaching the next thing, sometimes without mercy, without moral and everything. But if everyone would just sit down, take inventory of their life, and just be like, wherever I am now, I'm happy, I think we would be in a lot more harmony and peace with one another. But it is what it is, and you can only change your own life, right? Ultimately, I mean, of course, you can put something out in the world and it will resonate with other people and change their lives too. And that's where the magic happens in this world. But what I'm saying is that you can't force someone else to evolve, right? Everyone is on their own way, and you can't just go to another person and be like, no, no, you have to do this and that and this and that. You have to let them unpack it themselves, discover it themselves, and you can only point them to the right direction. And that's what I'm trying to do, with what I'm saying publicly and everything. I always try to uplift people and make them believe in themselves. And I don't have a hero story to tell yet, I think. Like, even though I'm kind of proud that we made this move to Montenegro and everything, I still feel like I will have to do a lot more in order to really have a story that is worth telling, that where people be like, wow, what a history of that guy. But maybe I will never reach that point. It, like, even that is just out of my ego, right? It's not that someone would be helped with that. So you always have to be aware of your inner thoughts and your inner world, and uh, don't don't fool yourself into uh, getting dragged down or getting dragged up in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, man, that was very interesting. And you got me thinking, what would be a story worth telling for you? Like, in 10 or 20 years, if you could look yourself in the future and think, this is a story that I did everything I wanted to do, I inspired people, what do you think would be so you can build this story in the next few years?
Yeah, now that you say this, I feel like this is so far away from me, but I still want to give it a mental chance, of visualizing it. So even though I code, I think my qualities lie with people and with my words over my code. I think the coding stuff is really great at actually manifesting those things in the world. So to leave like for example, if I'm dead, then my words are gone. Like maybe they are written down somewhere, but they are gone. But the code, the websites, they could still be alive and thriving. So code and websites are basically just the digital representation of your words, right? But still, I don't feel 100% at home in this technic world. I see myself more in the human world, in the nature, and ultimately, I want to be remembered as just someone that spills the sauce on how to cope with this life and just how to feel good, not judge yourself, accept yourself, love yourself. And if people would remember me for that message, then I think I would have reached everything I ever wanted, right? Because um, believe it or not, in this world, in this life that I'm living here, um, it's not about for me. It's not about reaching a financial thing where I have like a legacy, and maybe that comes later when I have children. That I be like, okay, I want to leave them something, of course, right? But I don't want to build big businesses or anything. I more want to build genuine relationships with people and just help those people out in this world and the animals too.
Yeah, I think you have a very philosophical take. And since you mentioned children, what do you think you'd like to build for them or to teach them when you have them? Like what would be your
Ooh.
message? Would it be more like you said of being a good person, being someone that uplifts other people, or would it be something else? What do you think would be the core messages you try to teach your kids?
So definitely to kind of find a healthy way with fellow humans, because at the end of the day, when we are out there in this world, it's a constant power battle, so to say. So um, when you come into a room with a new person, it gets kind of figured out within the first few seconds if you are obedient to that person, or if you have respect of that person, or who is like in the power in the power matrix, who is above the other, right? I think that we all have a sense of sensing that really quickly, when is and that only gets more dynamic when you are in a room with more people. Like if you are in one to one, then oftentimes you don't have those power plays or anything. And I personally, I don't participate in those power plays and just those, I'm above you or whatever. But many other people do. And what I would teach my children would be to find that balance of knowing your own worth and not letting any other person drag you down in a way that like talk you down or anything. But then also find the balance with how much do you have to adapt, how much do you have to um, uh, like listen to other people in order that it's healthy. But my main takeaway, my main teaching would be that you are very valuable as a child and as a human in general, and don't let other people question your worth or what you're doing, because especially children, they are pretty harsh to one another. They can be pretty harsh to one another. If you look in a classroom of first graders or two graders, you have people bullying each other all the time, laughing about one another, and all that stuff. And if you don't know as a child that what those other children say, it's not against you as a person. It's more like those children, they learn things at home, they sit on the table with their parents, and their parents might be running their mouth about some other guy in their in their whatever, in their friend circle or in their colleague circle, whatever, and they just hate on that person, whatever, and then their child goes to school and does the same thing with their classmates. But that's like, if someone hates on you, that's not your fault or anything. It's solely the other person's insecurity and all that. So I think a big part of my teaching to my children would be to basically don't let anyone talk down their worth, and yeah, to also just set boundaries, and uh, yeah, in the metaphorical sense, put out your wings and just do what you want to do without hurting other people, of course.
That's a beautiful philosophy, especially the end
Yeah,
part. And like you said, kids are very mean to each other. I remember as a kid, all the bullying
yeah,
and the fighting and boys punching one another and all the things
yeah,
that kids do. And like you
yeah,
said, it's more a reflection of what happens in their houses with their parents and the things they're
right.
taught by the adults.
Yeah. But still, I
And
think what's also very important in that conversation is that you don't raise your children to be always taken care of by you. So while I would tell my children, hey, do what you want to do, basically, in that way that don't let anyone restrict your creativeness, don't let anyone restrict that, whatever. There will be a point where they will clash with someone, right? And then there are two possibilities. You jump in as a parent and save your child, and maybe call the parent of the other child and be like, hey, your child insulted my child today. I want him to apologize, whatever, whatnot. And then it's all good, it's settled. Or you can say to your child, well, it's an uncomfortable situation. Do you want to practice that? You know, like in life, those uncomfortable situations, they will come over and over, right? And in some way, you need to be prepared for that. So I think it's not the best way to put your protecting hands above your child and just don't let it experience pain or anything, because the child also needs to learn to deal with those emotions and to also take responsibility for their actions, right? So just because I say to my child, hey, you can do whatever you want, that doesn't mean that they can all of a sudden do whatever they want without consequences, right? So it's always an act of balance. And I can't even tell you now how I would handle all those situations. I think a lot would come from the situation itself and from the moment. But my general philosophy would be free, because um, I'm a freedom person, and I think everyone should have the freedom to do what they want as long as they don't strip other people's freedom.
yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think I will be a very libertarian parent as long as my kids are good people overall and they don't, they're not assholes basically, and
Yeah, yeah,
they follow the golden rule that you do to other people, like you treat them like you want to be treated. Of course,
yeah,
like you said, kids, they're still learning, they're growing up, their bodies are changing, so they will fight, they will, um, things will happen. But like you
yeah,
said, we need to let them learn how to deal with it. It's
yeah,
because we won't be here forever and they will have to learn. And as you grow up, these things will happen again and again and again. So you need to learn how to deal with them, with the emotions, with the conflict. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree to 100% with you, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I mean, yeah, it's I think many parents don't even know what it means to have a child until they have, you know? So I also like, who am I to talk about this? I don't have children on my own. I mean, I have cats and I have one dog. You could see it as kind of children, but it's not human children. But I think that you just you just should be thoughtful about parentship and not see it as something that you just do because you feel like, or because you had an argument with your partner and now you're good again and now let's get a child, whatever. I think it's a very high responsibility that you also have to take as a parent. And it's rough, man. It's difficult, I think, to raise a child. And I think also as a parent you will grow so much. I mean, I will probably be a whole different person if I had a child than I am now. Maybe not in my core principles, but perhaps in the way I deal with life, I deal with unforeseen things. Maybe I have to stand up for my child. Maybe all those things where now they are not on my radar. They will go on my radar once I have a child. And I think parents that don't have a good relationship to their child and be like, yeah, my child is just, I don't know, aggressive or whatever, whatnot. I think it always means you should double down on that and make that relationship good again, because it's never the child's fault when those things happen. So I'm not an advocate of the thing with, yeah, it can be that your child just gets born aggressive or born like this, and then you, as a parent, are just the victim. No, I think you, as a parent, you always have the power to um, to 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 r- form your child into a healthy and good direction. And it's a big responsibility that everyone that becomes parent should be aware of.
It is, and I think that's a very pressing issue in society because many people are having kids for the wrong reasons. And to be honest, I think many people that shouldn't have kids are having kids actually, and then
Yeah,
we see these
yeah,
problems of blaming the kid, and but the person didn't even have the responsibility to become a parent, and it is a very big responsibility. It's like the biggest responsibility someone can have is to raise the next
yeah,
generation. And if you don't have this in mind, you shouldn't be having kids, to be honest.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, it doesn't really matter what we think about this because it still happens, right? Those parents that are not qualified will still get children, and it's basically then our job to just make sure that our children will raise in the right direction for the right reasons and will either get along with those other children or at least find a healthy find a healthy balance with those other kids. It's not that you have to be friends with all, like, you don't have to have a child that is friends with all the other children in the kindergarten. Okay, it for me it would be fine if my child said, hey, I don't really find other people here to connect with. They are whatever, and I'm like this, and we don't get along. Um, then I would not be the type of parent that sends my child to the. I would never do that in general, or only in the worst imaginable cases. I would not send my child to the doctor and be like, yeah, something is wrong with my child. He's not socializing with the other children. No, I was such a child myself that wasn't really socializing with the other children. And I think it's just in the nature of the person to either be introvert and or extrovert, outgoing. And of course, you should have people around you and everything. But chi- children's brains are so fluid and so flexible. Nothing is set in stone at this age and at this point. So uh, I think a lot of parents freak out or anything because they think, oh, my child doesn't behave exactly like the other children, and doesn't have as many friends, doesn't write as good grades. And I think then the lesson is for you to let go of those expectations that you have on your child and just let it be how that child is supposed to be, instead of bending it into the direction that you want your child to be, because maybe you wanted to become a dancer as a child. That doesn't mean that your child wants to become a dancer, right? So I think children have their own will already, and it's often like this anti-pattern to say, I listen to my children's desires because it's just a child and it doesn't know what it wants. No, I think children really good know what they want, and you should be aware of that, and uh, of course, don't let your child dance on your nose. If the child says, but I want sweets, but you say today was enough sweets, then of course you can set that boundary and be like, yeah, you want it, but you don't get it, right? But with the big topics, I think the child is the last instance to decide if it wants to go to the dancing club, or if it wants to play football and all that stuff. It's up to the child and its own will.
Yeah, they're still exploring. They need to try a lot of new things to know what they will actually like when they grow up. And I think two points that came to my mind when you were talking about this. First, that we live in a world that's very extrovert heavy, so introverts
Yeah,
have a rougher time, especially when growing up, but also as adults. I think extroverts have lots of advantages. And only
yeah,
recently I've been noticing the advantages of being an introvert because we also have advantages. Like
yeah,
we pay more attention, we are more introspective, so we can have deeper thoughts and think
yeah,
about deeper ideas. Sometimes that extroverts, because they're always wanting to talk and express
yeah.
themselves, sometimes they don't have this ability that we take for granted. And also another point that you were talking about, now I forgot what it was. It was this. Oh yeah, and many parents, like you said, they try to project in the child the things that they want it to be or that they want the child to be because, oh, my dream was to be a doctor, but I didn't become a doctor, so my child has to be a doctor now. And the child doesn't
Yeah,
want you. He wants to be a singer or a soccer player or an engineer or whatever. And this happens too much, but
yeah,
it's unfortunate.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all we can do is basically put this out in the world, and maybe then find people that resonate with that, and they'd be like, yeah, that's a true point. When I have children, I will definitely consider that. But we can't force anyone else to do anything, right? So it's it sounds cheesy, but I think you should just be the change you want to see in the world, and that's all you can do at this point. You can't turn the world upside down, but you can be a role model and can behave in such a way that other people see it and be like, yeah, that's a damn good idea. Let me be like this guy also, or in that regard. Not be like this guy, because then we are again at the. That's also, I think, an issue that sometimes you see like a popular figure and you say, oh, I want to be just like Cristiano Ronaldo, I want to be just like this person. And I think that's also not a good approach, because then you end up tying your self worth to that other person. And if you live up to that person's expectations, etc., just be yourself and be the way that, yeah, that you are happy with yourself, that you could look yourself in the mirror, that you have nothing to hide, nothing to regret, and that you hurt as little souls as possible while you are on this planet.
That's beautiful, man. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people will say, oh, those two young guys that don't even have children yet are trying to make up the rules of how to raise my kids. I'm sure someone will say something like this if they listen to us. But Whatever. Um,
Yeah, there will
Going
always be
back to
people.
some of the things.
Yeah, just
No, go
really
ahead, man.
quick.
Sorry.
When you put out something in this world, there's always people that gonna like it, and there's always people that gonna hate on you and that gonna pick on you. And I just try to, when somebody picks on me for speaking here about parentship, even though I don't have children myself at this point. I mean, I have uh, cat children, maybe that counts, but even if not, I just try to not let that get to me, because who is that person? I don't even know that person. That person doesn't even know me. I'm just here on this podcast spilling a bit of what I think, and if that offends someone, then fuck you, you know? Then just don't like me, okay? Don't follow me. Maybe there's someone listening to this that says, "Wow, Boris, what a cool guy. Let me follow him on Twitter." So it's always a double-edged sword, and you should just ignore the noise of those people that are just sitting in front of their screens and hating or anything because they don't get anything done themselves. You know, I think everyone um, has enough uh, things to work on in their own life, right? So don't get into other lives and be like, what's good for you and what's good for you, if it's not meant as advice, right? Advice is always okay, but it also depends on, does that person want to listen to that advice? If you put this podcast out now and people listen to it, we are both spilling advice, right? But we are not forcing anyone to listen to this. If you don't like it, then just go back and watch another video. But if you then go to another person's whatever where they live and stand in front of their door and then force them to take your advice, that's something different again, because you didn't ask for that advice, right? But when people watch that podcast, they want advice. So that's what we're giving them. And there's nothing wrong with that. As long as we don't go into Twitter and comment under another people's post, no, no, but you have to be like this and that, then it's again the forced advice, right? But I think we are all free to express ourselves and give our opinion. I mean, I'm 24. I don't know how old you are. How old how old are you?
29.
29.
I'm
So
29, man.
we also, yeah, so we also lived one fourth or one third of a life already, right? So we also have a story to tell. So it's not that just because we're young that means that our opinion doesn't count or anything. On the contrary, I think, especially when it comes to political decisions, I think especially it should be the younger people that make these decisions and not the people that are gonna be gone in 5 years anyways, right? Because they are very old. That shouldn't sound offensive. Just saying that young people, there's always this thing of, oh, you're young, so your advice doesn't count because you're not as experienced as us. But I think that's stupid. You can have young people with very valuable views. And of course, it's fluidly changing. When I was 19, I was way different than now, that I'm 24. So I think when you're young, you're changing a lot. But still, you can have good views on life already on that age.
Yeah, I think you have a valid point that younger people sort of have more skin in the game because the political decisions will impact them for many more years than the older
Yeah,
people.
yeah. But sorry, I interrupted you in the middle of speaking. I hope you still know what you
No,
want
no
to say.
problem, man. I loved your rant. So what I was going into was we've talked before about creativity, about what makes us happy, about our childhoods, and in this topic of being a creative person, your mom is an artist. So how was it growing up with that kind of influence in your home?
I have to, a lot of the things that I are today, I have to attribute and thank to my mother. Not only because she's an artist by profession, but also because of her the whole person she is in general. Like she raised my brother and me. We also had a dad, but my parents divorced when I was 6, my brother was 4, so kind of early. And we then tried to have this model of children go to the dad every 2 weeks on the weekend and then again, blah, blah, blah. But that also didn't really work out because it was a patchwork family. My dad had new children on his own and had a new wife that already had 2 children. So we ended up not seeing our dad anymore and still don't see him. I was even in court against him because he didn't want to pay alimony anymore when I was 18, even though I was still studying. And it's a long story. So the basic point is that without my mother, um, I would be in a way worse situation today than I am. So uh, I really have to thank a lot to my mother. But I don't know if you want to know the whole story or if you just want to know the creative part of it with the artist. So just let me know if you want me to go on that topic or
Oh man, whatever you want to share, I'm here. We're here
yeah.
for whatever you want to say, man.
So yeah, my mother is an artist, and I think it had a lot of influence on my brother and me because artists are a bit crazy in general. I think so. Artists are not held to the same standard than normal people, at least not in Germany. When you're an artist, it always has this taste of okay, he's maybe a bit crazy, and but for good. And I think we are just that. I am a little bit crazy in that regard. I have a lot of things going on in my head, and just I'm not that normal, controlled, uh, and just obedient person. I'm more of a own opinion, and in German you would say Dickkopf. So I don't know the English word for it, and for sure it has to do with my mother for sure, man.
Yeah, I can see that you're hard-headed and even a bit
Yeah,
based.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. I as a child I was like a class clown, so I was extremely extrovert actually. I didn't even know that I was introvert back then, and I was just everyone would think I'm the biggest extrovert you can possibly meet. And then during my adolescence, or I don't know how it's called, I basically turned 360 into some really introvert guy that was not spontaneous at all, not outgoing at all, and just very fearful and yeah, just afraid of being judged and all that. And now this is switching back to that extrovert. So I always like to say I'm introvert by heart, but extro. No, sorry, I'm extrovert by heart, but introvert by nature. So I'm basically a completely outgoing person and everything, but I still find it to draw energy from me. When I go to a party or to a whatever with other people, I always come back not with a feeling of course, with a feeling of it was great, but I have to recharge my batteries. So as a child, um, I completely forgot about that and didn't have it on my radar and was just extrovert, extrovert, extrovert. Then I went total introvert and total nerd and just uh, smoking weed, and just sitting on the balcony with few friends and just blazing. And now I am basically back to this extrovert, but I still have those problems with socializing as much as others. So it's not that easy for me, but I still like it?
Yeah, this was a discussion we were having on X the other day, that introvert and extrovert and shy and not shy, they're not necessarily correlated because we tend to think that every introvert is shy. But
Yeah,
like you, and I think myself as well, we are introverts that are not shy, but there are even
Yeah,
extroverts that are shy. So they get energy from other people, from social interactions, but
right.
they are shy. When it comes to time to speak, sometimes they get shy. They get like stage fright.
Yeah,
And there are
yeah,
introverts that are not shy. We can speak. We just don't like this social interaction all the time. And there are people that drain us. So
yeah,
I think
yeah.
uh, in general, we tend to have this vision, but it's not necessarily correlated.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I also saw someday that introvert and extrovert just means how how draining is it for you with other people. And for extroverts, it tends to be not even draining, but even uplifting. They might feel shit, and then they do something with other people, and then they feel a lot better. And actually, that's the same case for me. It's not that other people, it depends really on those other people, you know? I think a big part of the equation is who are you meeting with, right? Is it that you're going to a party where everyone is just focused on their own ego and just being cool and not showing any emotion, being cool and not showing anything? That I don't like, and that will drag me a lot of energy. But if I'd go to a party where people are just truthful, honest, just smiling, showing their self, and not being in this oh, you have to be cool because you're around girls, all that stuff that many people think they have to put a mask on when they go outside to not be seen as weak or anything. So another part of that equation is, of course, who are you meeting with? But in general, introvert means that you just get a bit of, when you're with other people, it takes your reserves down, your energy reserves, and you need to recharge after that. And for extroverts, it seems the other way around. They have low batteries, and then they go meet with other people, and all of a sudden they are charged again, So I think everyone has a bit of both worlds, and depending on who you are out with, it differentiates, of course, right?
Yeah, there's even a theory that actually everyone is an ambivert. So everyone is in a spectrum between extreme introvert, extreme extrovert. Everyone's somewhere in the line. And also, like you said,
Yeah,
depending on the person or the people you're going to meet, it changes. Because if you're going to meet your best friends, or if you have a girlfriend and you have a good relationship with her, you're going to get energized. But if you're going to
yeah,
meet someone that you hate, it doesn't matter. You will hate the situation either way, so it really depends.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I really like this conversation and everything. I think it's a great podcast you're hosting here, that also really goes deep, and not just this superficial, I don't know how much, what are your products, what's your business, how much money do you make, and everything. That also has its place, of course, but I like those talks where you're just philosophizing about things, and not like see the human and not just what the human accomplishes. Because I also think a big problem in this world is basically that you have those famous people like, let's say, Cristiano Ronaldo. They are not seen as human anymore from the crowd, If I would be in a restaurant, and I tell you completely honest, and there was Cristiano Ronaldo sitting at the next table, I would not even approach him, because I would be like, bro, you're here, you want to have a good time, you're not here to talk to other people or anything. I will leave you your peace and everything, right? But then you see those videos on YouTube where Ronaldo walks down the street and there's a crowd of paparazzi and people with their phones following him, treating him like an animal, right? Not anymore as a human. And I just think a lot of conversations that are going on in this world are on this superficial layer of this. What's your identity? What's your mask that you put on? Okay, let's talk about that. But I like to talk about the person behind the mask, And it's a really cool podcast because we are not masking in front of one another, and I find that great.
Oh man, thank you for saying this. And I'm very glad that you came. And I really like talking to you because you're very based and very real and you like to philosophize. I don't know if it's something because of who you are or also because Germans love to philosophize. No wonder you guys have so many great philosophers.
Yeah, the old
But
Germans. Yeah, yeah, the
yeah, the old school guys, Nietzsche and Kant and
yeah,
all the other guys. But
yeah,
yeah, I think, yeah, man, it must be terrible to be famous because you lose your humanity, at least outside your house. You can't be yourself anymore. You have to put on this persona. And
yeah.
I don't want to become famous really anytime soon.
No, no,
I
no.
think
Me neither.
I think
Me
being a
neither.
private person and you know, since you're a tech guy, what do you think of privacy going forward? Because we pretty much don't have privacy anymore, and we are not even famous. What
Yeah,
do you think of this in the future, especially now with AI getting all the craze and the future models getting more and more powerful,
yeah.
and even AGI probably being the horizon? How do you see this going forward?
So I think you need to be aware that once you want to participate in this online world, and I think everyone wants, right? Everyone has a Google account, I guess. Maybe one person that doesn't have a Google account, maybe my grandma, but everyone that has a smartphone, even if it's an Apple, has a Google account to use the Google services. And you just need to be aware that they can do whatever they want, unfortunately. Of course there can be regulations and they are in place, and I have no idea about this politics thing, so I don't know what's the privacy stance on there. But I can see on my own every day when I try to bootstrap a new app, for example, and I want to allow people to do something over Google. Then Google wants me to create a video of myself showing how I will use the permissions. They want me to document, etc., etc. So I have to give them then documents how I'm going to use their Google integration, and they are on the lever. They can say yes or no. If they say no, I have really no chance of getting my will through, right? Because it's their platform, it's their product. I want to use it, not the other way around. So basically you have to accept to a certain degree that those big tech, they have all the power, and of course you could see it from this spiritual perspective of, yeah, but if I don't use it anymore, then I'm the change that I want to see in the world, and then other people will stop using it too. But you know how ridiculous that sounds. That's not gonna work, right? So you have to be realistic as well, and I don't think that Google or any of the other big guys will go anywhere. So I actually think the future is kind of negative, will become kind of negative, because. But on the other hand side, what's the alternative really? I mean, you could say now, stop all that AI stuff, stop it now, let's don't research it anymore, and just go back to the old system, maybe even give up the internet and go back to where we were before. But obviously, the humankind is constantly on the search to evolve. And I personally think that we are evolving in the wrong direction with doubling down on all this technical stuff instead of going back more to the things that are really there for us, for example, nature and everything. But that's a whole different topic. But I just think, don't like, you will not have big privacy, but you don't have it now too online. So it's always so that when someone wants to know something about you, they can easily find out. They can check even with the GPS where you've been, what services you've used, and all that. So once you are in that, um, once you are in that, how do you say? Wait, let me quickly Google it.
Once you cross that line or something like that.
No, once you are in the, wait, English, reticle, crosshair. Once you are in, like, once someone puts an eye on you and wants to find out, from whoever it may be, from the government, from Google, from NSA, whatever, once they want to know what you're doing all day long, they can just look it up, right? It's all, everything you do online leaves a fingerprint. Um, Even if you use VPN or whatever, even then you leave a fingerprint at NordVPN, for example, right? So, um, the internet is a transparent protocol, and there really is not much privacy going on. Of course, you have all those companies like OpenAI. They say, hey, if you use our models, we will not store privacy related data of your users. So that is still a choice you can make as a company, whether you want to store your users' records or not. But and that's noble if they don't. But at the end of the day, you're using tech, and if that tech is free, then you are the product. Easy as that. So if you're having Google account, you think, oh cool, it's free. No, it's not. You are the product. You get targeted ads. They collect information about you. They share it with their partners. But on the other hand side, I don't want to sound too lash here, but I personally, I have no problems at all giving up my privacy in that regard, because I just think, what do they want to do with my data? You know, like, what are they gonna do with it that harms me at the end of the day? I think a lot of this data that they all collect is to improve their services, and of course to also make better marketing strategies to kind of deceive you into buying new products from them. So it's of course a questionable thing that they do, but at the end of the day, no one's gonna say, "Oh, this Gabriel Ottavanio, let's release what he Googled over the past few days." You know, things like that. It's not gonna happen anytime soon, I guess. So I think, of course, yeah, it's difficult, man. It's difficult. I don't really know how to feel about the future. I just think that you should be prepared that uh, the wealthy become more and more wealthy, and the poor will become more and more poor in that regard. You know, so you will not stand the chance against those big giants, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, things tend to become more and more winner takes all with all this automation and AI and even, you know, Industry 4.0, and you'll have less and less people actually working in the factories and more robots and models. And I think concerning data, the thing that most makes me wary would be like location data, like GPS, because in the wrong hands, this could be very dangerous to have. If someone could hack Google's database, or even if we start being more paranoid, if the government wants to look for you, if
Yeah,
for whatever reason, we're seeing more and more of this. Um, Not to be a conspiracy theorist or anything, but you know, for instance, what's your take on these new government digital currencies that they're trying to implement, and that they
yeah.
might,
So
out of the blue, want to freeze your account? And I think that
yeah,
we
yeah. I
might be
mean,
heading in a very dangerous direction.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we've all seen with COVID how fast it can be that all of a sudden the country gets turned upside down. You need to show some weird QR codes on your phone before you're allowed to enter a normal facility. So I don't even want to open that box of Pandora of COVID at this point because it's with me still emotionally charged and I don't want to rant again. So I just let's just leave it that uh, the the government is always seeking more power, and that's also just human psychology. Those who are in power will always strive for more power. It's like a natural law. You will never have politicians being like, yeah, okay, this is good, let's leave it. No, they will always find new ways to intrude your privacy, find new ways to trick the system and everything, and just make it legal to make questionable stuff on the citizens. And the only thing that really helps against that is when a lot of people stand up and say, no, that's not gonna happen. And I think that with COVID, it happened a lot. You had in Germany a lot of people protesting. You had in the US a lot of people protesting. You had in Canada a lot of people protesting. Uh, Basically all around the world, except for maybe China, where it was already so advanced and you couldn't even protest anymore because they would just shoot you on open street or anything. I don't know if this is true, you know, I've not been to China, but I know that it was super strict, that people were like trapped in their houses and there was a drone flying by saying you can't leave the house, etc. And I've also seen a few clips and everything where just protesters in China were countered with extreme violence from the military and everything. So uh, I think a very big challenge of this time that we live in is making clear to the ones that are supposed to protect us, namely the government, how much they are allowed to do and what and how much not. Because this globalization is kind of an excuse for them and for the WEF and for the WHO and for many other of those institutions to be like, hey, yeah, let's make like a little world government where when we make a new law, then the whole world has to abide by it. And that's what they tried with COVID. And I think they were actually pretty damn successful because you can't tell me that this wasn't planned or anything because it was just also like, you know, all those institutions that are usually not even able to go to the digitalization stage of business, you know, and they are so slow and everything. But for some reason with COVID, everything went so good from the administrative side. It was so easy setup. You had apps to track your vaccine status like few days after the vaccine rolled out. So if you ask me, and that's again conspiracy, but this was not just no, I'm not gonna say it on this podcast. Like, I don't want to get vulnerable in that regard, but I just think that
Oh, I can cut anything later if you want, man.
yeah, I just think that it's the governments are not as gullible as they appear to be, and there's a lot of planning going on in the background, and it has its own name. It's called population control. How can you control a growing population of billions of people? How can you make them not you know, go crazy or do some weird anarchy stuff? And I think for that you have to uh, do a lot of bad stuff to get the people to abide by the law, whatever that law may be, and however hostile it is towards the people. So, um, yeah, I think COVID should have shown everyone on this planet how easy it is to turn you from a normal guy to a bad conspiracy theorist, how to turn you from a normal guy to someone that had his bank account frozen because he financially supported the truckers. So it showed a lot, you know, and it's also part of the reason why I left Germany, because Germany is really on the forefront of all this globalization stuff and WEF. And I love that here in Montenegro it's a bit more based, and the people are just a bit like they don't let the government tell them what to do all day long. They have their own opinion, they have their own will, and they will not let the government step over certain boundaries. And in Germany, I just saw how easy it is to win those people over. Like uh, you had people playing police all of a sudden when you enter the room, be like, yeah, where's your certificate? And now we want to see your uh, how do you say? In every country you have this ID card, right, from issued by the government. And like I feel like it was super easy for them to roll out their COVID agenda because so many people played along and they loved to have power once in their life, to be the person that lets you in or out of the store. Many people also had deep fears and everything. I get that. But that was also just fueled by the media. And the media are kind of paid by the same people that fund the government. So uh, for me, it's clear what the goal behind COVID was. And I think that with those digital currencies on the rise, it just goes to show where the government wants you to go, but you still can decide if you let that happen, if you let them take away the cash. It's now everyone says, that's a conspiracy theory. They will not eliminate cash. They want the digital thing to be an addition to cash. But believe me, 10 or 15 years, they will say cash is dirty. Maybe there's a new virus that's spreading over the cash bills. Maybe it's spreading not over the air, but over things, right? And then they be like, okay, during this pandemic, we have to ban cash because you can get infected. And then after the pandemic, they will. I see a dark future if I dare to think those years ahead. And I think COVID was really just the beginning. Many people think, oh, now that this 100-year pandemic is over, finally we are all safe again, and the government just was in our best interest. I think it's just the beginning of a plot that's going to unfold over the next 50 years, and uh, I don't want to stand on the wrong side of history, and that's why I'm gonna do what I feel like is right, and I'm gonna fight for it a little bit that I don't get in jail.
Yeah, they've already hinted that a new pandemic may come soon, so we never know if it's something planned or if it's just like, oh, maybe it will happen.
Yeah,
And
even
do
if,
you
let's
think
say,
that,
sorry.
no, go ahead, man. I'll ask later. It was about cryptocurrencies.
Okay, so I think when, let's say, all these pandemics that are happening now and happening in the future are all natural, then also you have to investigate kind of why is it that now we have all those pandemics? Like, what in our lifestyle changed, or what is it that we should look upon more to avoid these things in the future? And I think that we as humans, we are pretty ruthless towards the planet. We are for profit, killing the rainforests, and we are also slaughtering millions of animals every day for our own food. Even though in many countries of the world you can live with a plant diet perfectly fine and you don't even need animals anymore, but still we are doing it. And I just think that in some way, planet Earth is also looking to thrive, right? And planet Earth doesn't see us humans as what we see ourselves as, right? Because we always tend to think, yeah, we are humans, we are the biggest species and everything. But maybe for planet Earth, we are like a parasite. And maybe planet Earth wants to get rid of us, you know? And of course, Earth has no feelings. Earth doesn't care if we are living on it and ruling it, or if it's the dinosaurs, or if it's some other species. But I'm saying we live so unhealthy and so in clash with nature at times, and then we wonder ourselves why we become sick, why we catch a virus. Well, you don't do sports, you don't eat healthy, you don't introspect, etc., and then you wonder why you catch a virus. Well, maybe you should start doing healthy things, you know, and not eating processed food all day and sitting on your couch, you know. So what goes around comes around, and uh, I'm also a big advocate of personal responsibility, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear that. They would label me as a right wing conspiracy theorist for saying that we should all live healthy, but for me, it's just common sense that you can't expect to live a lifestyle of pure unhealthiness and then expect your body to be healthy. It's just not adding up. So, uh, we are unfortunately at a point where we have pills for a lot of things where you just have. Like you have headache, okay, you take ibuprofen, you have this, you take one of that, but I think we should respect more like not being this culture of, oh, I have this and that illness, well, give me the pill, but more in that, okay, I have this and that illness, it's the third time of the year, maybe I should ask myself why I get cold all the time, what's wrong in my life that this happens all the time, you know. And of course now many people say, yeah, it's because I have immune weakness and everything. But also here, let's say you have that immune weakness, okay, but don't become a victim of that. Don't be like, oh yeah, because I have that immune weakness, I just get sick all the time and I can do nothing against it. I think it's wrong. Even if you have that weakness, you can still do sports, I guess, and you can still eat healthy, you know? So many people search for shortcuts and excuses, but at the end of the day, you have to uh, also look on how you live life and how that may contribute to the bad things happening in your life, you know?
Yeah, man. People always want the magic pill. They don't want to look at their habits and see, maybe I don't sleep well, maybe I don't exercise enough, maybe I don't eat well. We are always trying to get the quickest option,
Right,
the cheapest option, the most processed, delicious, full of sugar and fat and hormones
right.
food. And no wonder people are always sick. And like you said,
Yeah.
oh, I have an immune condition, but should so many people have immune conditions? Is that normal?
Right, right. It's like don't cuddle yourself in the victim mentality because you are no victim. You are a maker. You are more than just you are more than just helpless against your environment. You can form your environment. You may say, "Oh, but I have no one helping me." Well, you can find those people online. Well, I have no one doing this and that for me. Well, you can learn it, right? There's really no excuse. It's just that many people have so little discipline that they don't do the most basic things, and uh, then they want to get empathy for it. And I am a very empathetic person, you know. I don't know if that's the right word, empathetic. Um, but I don't have empathy for people that just love to be in the victim role, okay? Everyone is in the victim role sometimes. Everyone be like at some point, oh man, I feel like this is all growing over my head. I need help, you know? There's nothing wrong with that, okay? And there's a lot of ways to work this out. But if you then talk about it with that person and you feel like that person doesn't want to change because they feel more comfortable in that victim mentality of, well, I'm just that person. I have just ADHD. I cannot concentrate. It's not my fault. Then I'd be like, okay, then you are maybe that piece of shit that you say you are. Then I want to leave you in that and not engage with it any further, right? Because some people want genuine help and some people just want to hear what they want to hear all day long, and that's it's a big distinction.
Yeah, I see this as a very common thing that people they kind of search for mental illness to have. Like they don't even necessarily have anything, but they want that label so they can say, "Oh, I do this because I have ADHD, or I do this because I'm depressed, or because of whatever condition they have or they invent."
And
And
I'm not saying that
at the end of the day, oh no, yeah,
I
I know you're not saying that people,
I'm not
but
saying that
I
depression or anything isn't real. It is completely real, right? It really drags you down in your head, and maybe you have that chemical imbalance in your brain. Okay, maybe that's true that you just have not as many serotonin as healthy persons. Okay, but still, then when you are aware of it, you can tackle it. You can. Uh, Deal with it a lot better in being of this full responsibility mindset of saying, yeah, okay, I have this imbalance, but then let's just do more things to boost that. But many people just give up and be like, okay, I have this imbalance. All right, that's all I gotta know. Now I have an excuse to not do sports. I have an excuse to not do that. I have an excuse to not do that, you know? And I just think that many people are meant to do so many things more and they just limit themselves because they hold on to those limiting beliefs.
yeah, exactly. Like, instead of thinking, okay, what can I do to make this better? What can I do to at least reduce the symptoms? Or what can I do to become, if I say I have ADHD, what can I do to maximize my attention span? But many people, they don't want to try. They don't even try. They just get the diagnosis and, oh, I'm like this, so I have an excuse to not try.
Right.
But I think we're taking some dark parallels right now. Maybe we could try to think of the potential bright sides of the new technologies that are coming. Like, for
Yeah.
instance, with the large language models and other things that have been put out this year and maybe last year as well. I think that we also can become much more productive and there are many things that we can do now that we couldn't a few months ago. And
Yeah.
even if we think there are people that have disabilities that they couldn't, due to physical constraints, do some things that they can now with some of these AIs. And I think this is awesome. And going forward, it tends to
Yeah.
get better and better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you always have to keep a sharp eye on um, how this is gonna be used, all this stuff, because in the beginning, you have all those companies being very friendly. Let's put it like this: OpenAI, they're super friendly right now. ChatGPT Plus is $20, which is very affordable, and they say we keep your data safe and everything, but um, basically you still have to keep a governing eye on that, in a sense that they can't just now at some point take this data and turn it into some nightmare of scenario, you know. So uh, let's use it, definitely, and let's embrace it and let's build cool products with it, but let's just don't forget that we are human, you know, and not those machines. And let, I'm against mixing that too much up with your brain, for example. Like these brain chips from Elon Musk, I think they are great to treat those motion illnesses where you can't move your arm anymore, but thanks to that tech, you can. But I wouldn't want such a chip that people put it in their head to, I don't know, become better at learning languages or anything, because I think that's just not the point of being human. The point of being human is not being this lexicon that knows everything, but instead to be this kind of vulnerable piece of flesh that that has its limitations, right? And I think we should be careful on how much we allow that technology to intrude ourselves. As long as it's still those devices, computer where we type our commands, all good. But maybe the next step will be to put a chip in your arm and you talk to it. Okay, you could still say, well, that's already a big intrusion, whatever. And then it comes to the brain. So I just think that we shouldn't we shouldn't become cyborgs, you know. We should stay humans and use this new technology to help the world and to progress and everything, but still also not to blindly trust those institutions like OpenAI. I like it a lot, actually. I like their products and the way that they are right now, but you don't know how this will evolve, you know. And with great power comes great responsibility, and I hope that they will handle all of that responsibly, you know, all those inputs that they will get over the next years.
Yeah, I'm also very wary. I wouldn't want a chip on my brain under no circumstances. But one thing that I saw somewhere, I don't remember which podcast it was, but it was about some experts talking about these kinds of things. And one thing that might happen is that if we can put a chip on your brain and you become superhuman smart, like you can have access to all of the knowledge bases on the internet or something, and your brain somehow can make use of this data in a coherent way, maybe we'll start having FOMO because other people will become these super smart cyborgs, and then we're thinking, wow, if he can do it, I need to do it too, because otherwise I won't be up to my competition.
Yeah,
And I think this can become very dangerous very quick.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's kind of a bad comparison, but we saw this with the vaccines too, I think, when the government was just saying, yeah, you should all take it. And there were so many people that just took it, that I also talked to, that just took it to be able to go again to their favorite institutions, to go again to the gym, to go again outside, etc., etc. But they didn't even want it from their heart. They just did it because they were kind of convinced by society or by their friends or by the experts, whatever, that it's the best decision. And likewise, when you will have those people, let's say you have people with those brain chips in, and they go on TikTok and show off their knowledge of whatever, what they can do now and how they can solve equations, you will have a lot of people seeing that being like, whoa, I need that too, but they are not fully aware of those perhaps consequences that they that might have. So I think before you do a decision that might alter your life forever, you should really um, think about it, you know, and go in yourself and ask yourself, visualize that and ask, is this the right thing for me? Because maybe you are the right person for that. Maybe you are meant to be this cyborg, right? Maybe it's in your nature to be this lexicon that walks around and knows everything, right? I don't want to even make assumptions about other people. I could just speak about myself. But the general bit of advice here is to not get FOMO'd into doing something, but instead to just uh, see it from a more analytical and intuitive point of, do I really want this, you know? And what are the consequences?
Yeah, like you said before, we're sort of in a crossroads right now. First, of defining exactly what it is to be human, what it means to be human. And I think that there are people that are trying to push different views of what being human is. And if you
Yeah.
think 100 years from now, 200 years from now, what might happen? But because we see this talk about going to other planets and becoming an intergalactical species of sorts, but we probably couldn't do this in our regular human flesh
Yeah,
bodies.
yeah,
We might try, I've heard of things like really becoming androids or putting a consciousness into robots, and that maybe we should think of this as a new for an actual evolution of humankind. And I don't
yeah.
know if that's the right path we should be taking, really.
I think we as humans are perfect, actually, at getting distracted in things that are not really good for us. So, for example, we talk about invading the space when we can't even keep our own planet in good condition, right? We talk about exploring new galaxies when we didn't even explore 10% of our own oceans. So I think a lot of those sciences, I don't want to rate how good they are or how necessary they are, but I just think that life's not that science that we always make out of it. This is our work part, okay? So everyone has his work part where he just puts aside the humanness for maybe not when you're in a human job, but in general, where you just put aside the emotions and the spirituality and whatever and just do the thing that needs to be done, make the website, make the song, make this, make that. But um, I think there's a balance to keep, and many people just search for distractions to, I don't know, explore space and not hating on that. Maybe that's good too. I don't know. I just don't see the point in knowing the next galaxy that's 10,000 light years from here when, like, what does it bring me to know this? What does it bring me to know how the universe is built and what atoms and molecules bind with one another? I mean, of course, it's short sighted to think so because all the things that I'm using here today are are a result of that research, right? So I don't want to play down the research and the science here. I'm just saying that life's not as difficult as we always want it to be. It's actually quite simple. You are here on this planet and just have a good time, do good things, have good conversations with people, uplift the spirit of others, and maybe get children so that your bloodline gets kept alive over the next generations. And that's really all to it, you know? So we always like to see ourselves as these explorers and these scientists and all that. But really, we are just on this little planet Earth in this big universe, you know, and should just make the best out of it uh, that keeps everyone safe and everyone in a good condition. That's how I see it.
Yeah, I think humankind has this superiority complex. We think we are better than we actually are, and that's why we want to
Yeah,
colonize other planets, other galaxies, other. We did it with other countries in the past. We always try to do this. We have this, maybe because we came from hunter-gatherer societies, that we want to explore, 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 and get resources and get power, like you were saying before,
yeah,
that it seems like power is never enough for the human person.
no,
But
no.
since you were talking about being more cognizant of exploring smaller things first, of exploring our oceans, of exploring our planet, let's
Or
explore the
exploring
smallest thing
ourselves.
we can ourselves. Oh,
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
yeah.
So I
I
wanted to
mean,
ask you, what are some weird things that you like that no one does, that only you like, or few people like?
maybe in the today's time, this is already weird, but I love spending time with my cats and with my dog. And I'm not that social person in a way that I go out there and participate in those normal events of, I don't know, sitting in a bar or anything. But instead, it brings me joy to just spend time with my pets. Maybe that's already weird in today's time that I'm not so outgoing, as maybe other people in my age, especially 24, uh, where it always be like, yeah, you should explore, and go out. And I'm often more like, no, I don't even want to, I just want to uh, spend time with my loved ones here.
Do you think that might be because you're more on the introvert side, so you don't see this
It's
need for so much stimulation?
No, it's also because, of course, of the financial situation. I'm not in a financial position where I can travel the world or anything. And also, I cannot do it for the pets, right? Because uh, they need to be taken care of and everything. But I'm just in a state right now where with 24, I've already seen enough of humans, so to say, in that regard, and I don't even want to participate in all those rituals and things anymore because I just think it doesn't bring me further in my life to go out partying and everything, and uh, I just I just think my time is better spent advancing myself and growing in that regard. Of course, the social component is also important, but I I don't really put it that important.
And is there anything you wish you had done differently in the past?
Mm, no, no, because all the things you've done in the past brought you to the person you are today. And without my past, I wouldn't be sitting here like I would sit now. Maybe I would still sit here, but maybe I would talk about different things. So I'm actually kind of happy with the way I am. And I think my past contributed to that. So whatever it was in my past that might have been for me traumatizing or bad, or that I expected differently from me or anything. I think it was all necessary to turn myself into the person I am today.
So if you could talk to your 18-year-old self, would you tell him something to do something differently, or would you give him some advice? What would you tell him?
That's a really good question. Let me think about it for a few seconds. I would double down on I like everyone knows it, right? Everyone knows that it doesn't matter what other people say about you. But only a fraction of those people can really feel it and really execute it in a way that they really don't care, that they really just enjoy themselves, and all the people look weird at you and you're just like, I don't care. And maybe I would have doubled down on that and said, Boris, don't do the things so that you think that other people agree with it or anything. Just do the things so how you feel them to be right, and really don't care about other people. Be happy. And because I also thought for a long time that I shouldn't be happy, because if I was happy, then other people see that, and maybe those other people are in a lower frequency than I, and then they don't want to see me be happy and judge me or anything, because I experienced as a child. I told you I was really extrovert, and I was always really happy. Also, basically, when I was in fifth grade, fourth grade, etc., and many people got really triggered by that because they were already not happy, I guess, because of their parents, who knows, because of their circumstances, but they kind of made me feel like I shouldn't be happy because that's annoying. And that's why for a long time I was watching to not be too happy, to not be too to not be too self confident in myself, because then other people might come again and tell me, hey, you're not supposed to be happy, but this is just an irrational fear, and I deserve to be happy just like everyone else. And I still struggled with that for the past few years. So I definitely maybe would have told myself, hey, Boris, give a fuck about what they think. Be happy, okay? You deserved it. You're a great guy. And just do your thing and conquer this little world that you live in. That's a little world of the little world that planet Earth is. So we are all in our little world, the neighborhood we live in, the city we live in. And I feel like, and I think this is also very common if you have people on vacation, they are often way more outgoing and doing way more funny stuff and everything, because they be like, hey, no one knows me here, right? I can do what I want. And I think the real art is to be like this in your hometown, where everyone knows you. And all those people come to you and be like, oh, Boris, are you on drugs, or why are you so happy? And then you just be like, no, I'm not on drugs, but I'm happy anyways. Thank you. Like, uh, just not put so much focus on what other people think about you, because they don't really know you, and oftentimes they're just unhappy with their own lives and project it on you. And I think many people are so afraid to do something wrong. They are so afraid to be happy, to be smiling anywhere, because in today's society, it's almost weird when you're happy, right? When you're smiling, going through the street, they think you're a psychopath for smiling on such a normal day, right? But I often find myself thinking, every day you should be smiling like that, and it should be your every day, it should be part of life. But somehow as adults we restrict ourselves and think, no, no, I can't go on the playground now and do a few pull-ups or anything because I'm adult. Yes, you can just do it, and let your inner child play and everything.
Yeah, I think it's something that growing up, someday someone tells us, "Oh, why are you happy? Why you shouldn't be?" Or and maybe a parent, maybe a teacher. I think this is also a real pressing issue in schools because, especially with boys, we have a lot of energy when we're growing up, and teachers tend to tell us to shut up, to
Yeah.
sit on our chairs, and we can't do anything. And maybe this is one of the reasons we start to be less expansive and start to contract into ourselves.
Yeah.
And I forgot the other thing I was gonna say right now. Yeah, we shouldn't lose this when we grow up.
Yeah.
But a
Right.
thing that we have as an advantage as an adult is that when we were kids, we're kind of stuck with those people. We see them every day. The maybe
Right.
we have some enemy or rival in our school, and we have to see him every single day. But as adults, we have much more freedom to simply not see the other person ever again.
Yeah.
We can cut
Right.
relationships much easier if we want to.
Yeah.
So we can use this freedom and this power that we have as adults to lead a happier life. And like you said, if you want to go to the park and do some pull-ups, you can. Fuck what other people are gonna think. If you want to be happy just by going have some coffee alone and you're happy about it, who cares? We don't
Yeah.
need to do what everyone else is doing because everyone else, most of the people out there, they're not happy anyway. So why do you want to
Yeah.
emulate what they're doing if they're not happy as well?
Yeah. Right. Right. I think it's a balance act to be social on the one side and to be set boundaries and be like, hey, don't get too deep into my personal life on the other side, right? Because oftentimes you get friends with someone, okay, and then that friend thinks he's entitled to tell you how you should behave and how you should do this and that. And I think in these situations, it's just important to be aware of that and be like, wait, this person just wants to tell me how to live life. Okay. And maybe one time it's good advice, second time good advice, but there are people that do this on a daily, that have their own house not in order, but they know what's best for everyone but themselves, right? They know what's best for you, they know what's best for your neighbor, they know what's best for him, blah blah, but they don't really progress on themselves, and that's a big distraction in itself. So I just think if you can inspire other people and other people want to listen to what you say, then share your story and share your opinion, whatever it may be. But if you're not asked for an opinion, then don't go to other people and say you should do it like this and that, because no one's asked for it, right? And just try to find people that resonate with what you say and that want to listen to it, but don't force yourself in that mentality of teaching other people what's best for them, etc. Because everyone is on its own path, and uh, I know myself how it is when people talk to me that I don't like or that I don't respect. It goes here and it goes here out. You know, I don't even pay attention to it because because it's just not coming from the right person. But if my mother said that to me, I would of course let it in my head, you know. So it's always a balance act with other people, because yes, you want to have people around you to support you, etc. But you also want to have respect from those people, and you want them to treat you as the person you are and not as a product for them to grow on their own or anything, right? So just carefully analyze what's happening and also don't judge it. Like, for example, you have a lot of people that are just really um, attention seeking. And in the past, I used to judge that and be like, man, this guy's so annoying. He wants to be the center of attention all the time. And of course, sooner or later, you have to cut those people out of your friend circle. But you don't have to see them as, oh look, they do this to damage me or anything. It's often that they just struggle with themselves a lot in that moment, and don't take it as a personal attack against you, because no one's really like, if someone doesn't like you or someone steals your show or whatever, it's never because of you, it's always because of them. And of course, it's up to you then to make the right response to that. Like, if you're hosting a talk show and someone comes in and he talks all the time, then of course it's your job as a moderator to say, hey, let's also listen to this guy and this guy, right? But uh, don't uh, don't let that um, don't let that trigger anything bad in you. You know, just be aware that everyone's almost all of the time trying his or her best. You know, and even if you deal with people that you don't want to deal with, like, let's say, narcissists or psychopaths, even those people uh, are not really doing that to destroy your life. They are just doing it because they have so little in life that this power is all they have, you know, this oppression. And of course, you have to fight that oppression and don't get oppressed yourself, but you can still fight that oppression and still not hate them afterwards, you know, and still detect that at the end of the day, they are also just humans that are terribly misguided, right? But that still they are punished with their own existence, so to say. So that you don't direct too much hate on them. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Totally. At the end of the day, we just project to the external world what we have internally. And
Yeah,
there are many people that they are projecting things into others, like narcissism or just being an asshole to other
yeah,
people because of these things you were saying, because they have issues with themselves or with their past. And
yeah,
instead of trying to solve these issues, they want to project them to other people so they feel better about themselves. Because if they put you down, then they feel like if
yeah,
you're equal, then they put you down, so now they're better off. But
yeah, yeah,
that's not
yeah.
good in the long term, man.
Oh no. And you should of course get out of these relationships and everything, but I hear so many people that they are not in peace with their past in that regard. They say, "Oh, I fell for a narcissist. I fell for a psychopath. He destroyed my whole life. I hate him so much." And I just think here also take responsibility. You attracted that person that time, you wouldn't nowadays, because you progress so much with that person. Be thankful that that person showed you that you like what you never want again in your life, you know, like uh, I always try to see the good thing in every situation that's happening. And when the situation happens, you tend to become salty and be like, man, what a prick, what an asshole. I want to hit that guy's face or whatever. But once you mature and give it a few more days, weeks, months, then you think about it again, or I at least, and be like, yeah, that guy was a complete asshole. But at the end of the day, I I escaped from that person. I'm now a better person, and I now have a story to tell, and I forgive that person, okay? Because none of what that person did to me was out of ill intent towards me. It was to keep their lives afloat. It was because they are so bad off that they just want to see the world burn, right? And uh, try to try to see the lesson and not the hate in that, I'd say.
Yeah, forgiving is more important to the person that forgives than to the person that's forgiven. Because while
Yeah,
you don't forgive the person, they have some space in your head or in your heart that you're wasting energy thinking of them sometimes. But after you forgive them, it's like they lose all the power they had over you. If you forgive them
right.
and what's in the past is in the past, let's move forward, then you're free. You can take the next
Yeah,
step in your life. Otherwise, you're buried in the past.
right, right. And I think many people just can't let go of their past. They can't, like, the people saying, "Oh, this narcissist, he destroyed my whole life and he made me whatever, and he turned me into this terrible person myself. And now I struggle with anxiety and all that." And I totally get that, okay? I totally get when after such an abuse you have a lot of anxiety. It's only natural, okay, to have that. But it's still up to you how long you want to carry that bag with you. And of course, you can't just snap and all of a sudden anxiety is gone, right? It's a process that involves so many steps, but the main goal and the main point is that you need to let that past go, let that past be past, and focus on the present and on the future, and uh, just yeah, be thankful that everything turned out the way it turned out, because you wouldn't want to live with that abusive guy for another 5 years. Uh, Like, be happy that you that you got this person out of your life, you know? And that's just like that's the thing with optimist, pessimist. If you see that the glass is half full or half empty, and I try to see it as half full, but I often catch myself thinking in my head that it's half empty. But you know, I'm also still human and I'm still growing, still learning and everything. So I don't want to appear as some kind of guru or anything. I struggle with all the things that I'm telling today. I struggle myself. I still struggle with stage fright, for example. I still struggle with social things and everything, but at least I I'm aware of it and I want to change it, and that's uh, that's the most important part.
And you're doing a great job at it, man. I see you jumping on spaces. You just did a space of your own one of these days.
Yeah,
Now you're here with me. So I think you're doing a great job of trying to push your boundaries and to learn and to not feel so self-conscious about public speaking, for instance.
yeah,
And as
yeah,
you were speaking, I remembered I used to be much more of a pessimist due to upbringing and some people in my family and this culture. But I seen that after I started becoming more of an optimist or trying to see things through the better lens, I've become much more I've become happier, and also life is seems to get easier. You seem to look more for the opportunities or the solutions and less for the problems. So
yeah,
life doing things becomes easier. So why not be an optimist? Why be a pessimist and
yeah,
suffer when you can be
yeah.
more of an optimist? And
Yeah, I'm learning this really valuable lesson myself at the moment and over the past few weeks, because I have this programming in my mind to always see the bad things in everything that's happening. So something happens, and my initial response is just negative, hopelessness, and just anger, and all those negative emotions. And over the past few days and weeks, I try to more have that mindset of whatever shit is happening in my life, just see it from a positive perspective. Okay, so work is not successful, doesn't matter. I'm still a great person. This and that didn't work out, doesn't matter. I still have my family. So just to really, I think we are all so privileged. Everyone that can sit in a room and sit in front of his MacBook and have a conversation with another person on a podcast is privileged. Okay, we are all privileged in that regard, that we have this, we have a house, or whatever it may be. Maybe we rent. We have food. So we are the basic things from the pyramid we have. And now, so this pyramid, it has food and survival and everything, and it becomes smaller and smaller. And up there is the luxury stuff, the thing that I want this to work at the first try. I want to have, I don't know, a girlfriend. I want to have this and that. And this is all just luxury stuff. And we have to remind ourselves that we are so gifted with what we have, most of us, and uh, I think we are so ungrateful oftentimes that and the human mind is actually programmed that way, that we always look for problems and how to solve them, but we never look for the really good things and be like, yeah, everything's great at the moment, let's celebrate. We also have that, but in our day-to-day life, it's always the problems and the challenges we are giving thoughts to, and an optimistic mindset can go a long way in that regard.
yeah, we're always looking for more, 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 but we forget that we have food, we have shelter, we have a family, we have some good friends. We have the most important things. We have health. The most important things we already have. So, man, I thought of asking you about the German education system because I know it's much different from other places in the world, that they kind of separate you as you go up.
Yes, right. Okay, so basically, you
So,
start with elementary school in Germany. Everyone starts with that. And after that, there are three types of schools that you can go to. But that also changed a bit nowadays, because you also have now so-called Gesamtschulen, where you just have everyone in one class. But the traditional system that I came from was you then either go to the Hauptschule, Realschule, or Gymnasium. And Gymnasium is the best, Realschule is the middle, and Hauptschule is like the worst of those schools, grade wise. And if you have then, if you go to Gymnasium and you make Abitur, which is like the German college degree or something, then you get qualified to go to university. That's basically the rough system. And maybe even with Realschule and Fachabitur, you can also go to university, but in general, you need Abitur for that. Some form.
And growing up, was there a lot of pressure to get good grades so you could get on the higher levels of the tier system?
Pressure from who? From family or from the school side?
Ah, from yourself, from family, from like in general, not only you, but do the kids feel pressured or is it natural?
Yeah, so a lot of kids in Germany get pressured into delivering good grades because Germany is kind of really like the parents try to flex on each other with their kids. So every parent wants to have the best child, and of course, in a country like Germany, the grades are associated with the feeling of greatness of the child, right? So, um, not saying the child wants good grades, but the parents want that their child gets good grades most of the time. And in my case, my mother never had to tell me anything in that regard because I wanted to get good grades myself. I was so ambitious, kind of, to get good grades and to follow along with everything. But my brother, I remember, he was more of the lazy guy, and back then my mother also always told him to get better grades and everything, but he most of the time didn't, but he still made Fachabitur, which is like the lighter version of Abitur, by himself then later on, when my mother didn't even expect it anymore. But the point is that many parents want their children to write good grades in Germany, especially Germany, a kind of elitarian country, and you just um, especially in Germany, you think that you need to go to university to become something, which is not true, as we all know, because you have a lot of school dropouts being in successful positions nowadays because they just didn't like school, and the whole learning by heart thing for topics they are not interested in. But I feel like in Germany you have this really standard that your kid should go to a gymnasium and it should make Abitur and then go to university and get a bachelor and a master and a doctor and a professor and whatnot.
Yeah. And I'm thinking because Germany is sort of a relatively flat society in terms of wealth distribution, or at least I got that impression. I might be wrong, but it seems like even the tax system is kind of designed so that we have a relatively flat situation. As a German, what do you think of this? It's like it's more of a status thing, or do the salaries and the actual income you get to take home really change as you go on this system of masters and doctor and all that stuff, or is it more of a status thing?
I think when you study in Germany at a university, it's really important that when you do those things like bachelor's, masters, etc., not for the title, because that title itself is not really bringing you anywhere. Like, at least I don't feel that my bachelor's degree brings me anywhere better than if not, but maybe it shows to people that I was ambitious in the past in that regard. But on the contrary, it's that many companies don't even want master's students because master's students think because they went through all those steps that they deserve a high base salary. And oftentimes those companies then even say, we rather take one without master's degree because they are cheaper and everything. So I think when you really go that route of collecting all those titles, and of course it totally depends on the profession as well, because it might be in certain professions that a master's degree is almost necessary, while in others like IT, you don't really need a degree to code at all. But uh, my main point, when you do those things, then make sure that during your studies you make good friends among the students, maybe future business partners, and also use those studies to make internships at big companies, or not even big companies, just internships in general, because this work experience is really more important than the title, I think, and the connections you make.
And how do you see the tech sector in Germany right
Oh,
now?
it's horrible. I mean, Germany is one of the highest tax countries in the world, and I'm so happy that I don't have to pay taxes there anymore, but now here in Montenegro, because Germany is just horrendous taxes, really.
You're glad that you went to Montenegro because of the taxes?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. The taxes in Germany are horrible. They are so high, and yeah, it's not only the taxes that make Germany unattractive, but also the big regulations and everything. I think it's really difficult to make a living in Germany as a freelancer.
And what about for tech companies in general? Like if you want to build a startup in Berlin, for example, do you think it's a good place or it's better to try to go to Lisbon or somewhere else?
I would say somewhere else. I can't like give qualified advice here because I have a tech company, yes, but not with employees and everything. Uh, but Germany may be good for the reputation of the company. Like if you see that the company is based in Germany, there's always some level of trust associated with that, right? Because Germany is a very um, high, like a high seen country by everyone. But I think if you're a tech startup, there are better places, places where you can be more free in your everyday operations, without the Finanzamt and other corporate no, not corporations, Behörden, like other institutions that just slow you down in your growth as a company. But again, not sure if it's really profitable to have a tech company in Germany as opposed to other parts of the world. But I think, especially when it comes to tech, the best place to go is to the United States.
Yeah, Silicon Valley is still the place to go, I guess.
Yeah.
But also I hear good things about other places like Israel or maybe Singapore that might be good havens for people wanting to build companies.
Yeah. I haven't figured out yet what makes these places really so desirable, but maybe that's just my missing business knowledge. I just opened a company here in Montenegro, and yeah, I'm just looking to work and earn money, and that's all I care about at this point, not like any other factors or any location related benefits. I just yeah, look to make a living here and have good clients that I can serve.
Yeah, man. And how do you see the crypto space? Like, do you invest in crypto or do you recommend, especially because we were talking before of the new government issued cryptocurrencies, so to speak, or digital currencies, and how this might bring issues in and of itself. So, what's
Yeah.
your view in these kinds of technologies?
So I love crypto. I have been in the crypto space also quite some time, just 2 years, I think, but it feels longer definitely. And it's actually the reason why on my Twitter I have 1,300 followers, because earlier I was just making crypto content for a specific blockchain, and I had so many people following me, liking, and everything. And then the bear market came, and I kind of backed out a bit from that crypto related content and went more into this tech content. And all of a sudden, all my posts got like zero engagement, like one like, 10 views, nothing, right? And I was like, bro, I have 1,300 followers. Are those all ghost accounts or whatever? Um, I think now it became better because I built a little audience now around this tech stuff, but basically I have a lot of ghost accounts following me, I think, like accounts that were just created as a burner account for crypto giveaways and that are just not active anymore. But that's another story. So I like crypto, um, and I think crypto is a great financial tool. That's I mean, what is crypto? You have to differentiate between Bitcoin and the other currencies. Every currency has its own strong points and weak points, but I like the idea of crypto, of money that's owned, decentralized by the people. But unfortunately, it's also a dream idea because often this narrative is sold that crypto is so decentralized, but it's really not. It's already kind of occupied by the globalists as well at this point, especially now that BlackRock launches the Bitcoin spot ETF. So crypto is going to become corporate in the next few years. Um, I personally, I'm still very optimistic about it. I'm still buying every now and then a little bit to just uh, have a good bag for the next bull market if we have another one. And yeah, I'm a big fan of crypto.
And how do you use crypto in the day-to-day life? Because most places don't accept it. Do you have to exchange it for a harder currency like euros or dollars?
Yeah, no, I'm basically just investing. That means I just buy the crypto and put it on my wallet and just let it sit there and do nothing, and just invest in it like I would invest in other assets like gold, for example. And yeah, just wait until it goes up again. Then I can sell, and then I can take the profits to my bank account.
Oh, okay, so still it's more of an investment. Like you can't use it on a daily basis yet, at least,
Well, you
or it's
can.
very hard to do.
So yeah, there's always those uh, tries to, for example, let you enable to spend the crypto from a debit card so that you can then really spend it on a day-to-day life. But it's difficult in terms of legality and everything, because oftentimes those crypto companies that issue such a card, they get a letter from the SEC or whatever, and then they are not allowed to do it anymore. So it's, of course, when it's about finance, then you have all those sharks that don't want to lose their position, and they will do everything to not let everyday people just spend their crypto like they want. Restrictions that you have with crypto, especially with crypto, like even though cash is a lot more prone to how do you say, black transactions, black market and everything. It's still so that the narrative is out there that crypto is used for money laundering or things like that. Whereas crypto is one of the worst asset classes to make money laundering with, because everything is transparent on the blockchain. When you have a Bitcoin transaction and you launder it and whatever, then you can just publicly see that. It's like I could see in your bank account and see what transactions you made. So obviously the most money laundering happens with cash. But the narrative should be that crypto is so dangerous and only used by criminals and whatever. But I think over the past few years, it already got rid of that association, and instead the media and everything are asking now, what is crypto, and they become a lot more friendly towards it. And I genuinely hope that they will squeeze it again so that the prices go up and people like me that have accumulated in this bear market can sell then.
Yeah. And are you comfortable with this transparency, with anyone being able to see the transactions? Or do you see it as a good thing, or do you think we've talked about privacy before, but do you think it could also be a bad thing? Like anyone being able to see what you're buying or the transactions you're doing?
Of course, it's a double-edged sword, and especially when it comes to personal finance, you couldn't just let it all run on crypto, because then everyone would see what everyone else is paying for. You could literally see what other people are buying, and maybe you buy something that you don't want other people to know of or whatever. So privacy first. So if crypto was used for those type of stuff, then definitely you would have to build in some privacy mechanism, which already exists on some blockchains, where you can like view the history if you are the owner, but not if you're someone else. But the way that the crypto protocol is laid out, especially from the big cryptos, is that it's just a transparent system, and you can't really change that, because actually the transparency is part of the algorithm. So for Bitcoin, for example, the security from the Bitcoin network arises from that you have multiple transactions. They all get put in one block. Then all those transactions are hashed, so they get like a code assigned to them. And then the miners need to find a certain number that matches with the hash. So like for every block to be signed and to be accepted to the blockchain, it needs to be mathematically verified in a way that miners need to find a number that matches together with the hash of the block to a certain number, so that the security is ensured. And for all of that to work, the transactions are completely transparent. So everyone can see all the transactions going on in the network. And I think that can also have a lot of advantages, not just disadvantages. Like, for example, let's say you have a hack going on, and you govern a cryptocurrency, and now a hack going on where people get that drained from their wallet. Well, then you just go to the blockchain, make a snapshot of how the blockchain looked 1 minute before the hack, and just reimburse all the people. So this transparency, it can also be a great tool to see what's going on chain, who's making the volume. The volume, is it coming from the big whales? Is it coming from the small people? So it also gives you a lot of analytical potential to see what's going on in the network, who's the volume coming from, and of course, you see what wallet it comes from, but you don't know who that wallet belongs to, right? So only because you see the whole transaction history of a certain guy, that doesn't mean you know who that is. You still have to figure out who does that wallet belong to. Does it belong to you? Does it belong to me? Does it belong to someone else? So that's why there's this saying that in crypto, you have public keys and private keys. And public keys everyone can see, that's your wallet address. And private keys is the thing that is responsible for the security. And there's this saying that if you want to stay private in crypto, then you need to keep your public key private. So the public key that's supposed to be shared with other people, you don't show other people that this wallet belongs to you, basically. But one way or another, you have to, because if you go to exchange, for example, then obviously the exchange will know that Boris Pöhland owns this wallet, right? But in general, you shouldn't throw around your wallet address, because let's say you have this wallet and there's a lot of money on it and everyone knows that it belongs to you. Well, then you can easily become a target of people that want to steal that money from you, right? So I think it's better to be a bit private in that regard and not just throw around your wallet address like it's some kind of thing that everyone can see. But yeah, it's a trade-off, as with everything, it has advantages and disadvantages.
Yeah, the double-edged sword, like you said before, right?
Yeah.
And you have a few projects going on. You want to talk about them?
Yeah, absolutely. I love to talk about them because my big problem is the distribution channel. So I'm a developer, full stack. My front end skills are still not at the point where I want them to be, but still, I'd say I have a good skill set going on by the time I know how to do React, Next.js, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Node.js, um, databases, and all that stuff. And I'm actually looking for clients to get a landing page or whatever it may be done by me. For example, I've had a client that has people that can pay over his Stripe. So you know what Stripe is? This when you pay something, you get the Stripe, and that after the payment, they get automatically invited to a private GitHub server repository. Sorry. And for that to work, you need to connect a few dots. So you need to make it that when people buy over the Stripe, you get notified. Then you take the email address of that person, check if that person already has GitHub. If that person already has GitHub, you grant them access. If not, you send them an email, tell them to give their GitHub username. Then they give their GitHub username. You pass it again automatically, invite them. So these kinds of complex workflows I can do nowadays. So I'm basically always in the look for clients that need help with such problems where you just have product A, product B, you want to connect them in some way, you need a developer for that. I could be your guy for that. Or you want a landing page or a dashboard or a database or now with the new OpenAI GPTs that came out, I think I could also put this in my portfolio that I built those GPTs for people because it's really not that difficult if you're a developer, but if you're a normal person, then it can be really overwhelming. So yeah, I've got a lot of things going on. A lot of projects that I did recently were for my own portfolio and for like productized services, but they haven't really been too successful, to be honest. So I'm now looking for clients again, for people to just uh, pay me to do their website or anything like that. So to anyone listening, if you still look for a developer and you want high quality maintainable code that's fully yours and with top-notch support, then you can always hit me up and we can get started tomorrow.
Awesome, man. And since you mentioned the new GPTs, did you get a chance to play with them yet?
No, no. I don't even have a ChatGPT Premium because I didn't need it until now, but with the new GPT thing, I don't know, I'm still hesitant with everything because I don't like this AI stuff too much personally, so I just don't want to make this the backbone of my business, but still I should perhaps embrace it and uh yeah, learn it a bit more and everything, but no, I haven't played around yet.
And Boris, what do you think is your definition of success?
When you can feed your family and are in a position where money is not an issue anymore, but not because you buy expensive stuff, but just so that you can nurture your family, and all the luxury stuff like buying expensive clothes or cars or houses, that's all not my definition of success. I would rather spend the money to feed street dogs and street cats, but that's just me.
That's awesome, man. That's a very cute idea of feeding the dogs and cats.
Yeah.
And do you think you have a hero in this world? Do you have any heroes?
No, no, actually not. I've had people that helped me back then when I needed help in a spiritual sense, but I kind of came to the realization that even they are not really, you know, how I would want the world to be somehow. And I try to not be too reliant on other people. I just try to be my own hero, And yeah, I don't have my own hero. I just try to be the hero that I always wanted for myself and also for my pets and later also for my children, I guess.
That's a beautiful thing to say, man. And
Yeah.
what's the number one thing you want to achieve? And be bold, think of something that you might think it's kind of impossible, but no problem. What's the one thing if you were on your deathbed and you could say, this is the one thing that I'm proud of, what would it be?
So on the deathbed, it would be something different, but for my career in the next few years, I'd say running a successful web development company where I'm not even alone anymore, but I have employees because I can't handle all the work anymore. And I'm kind of in the CTO and CEO position at the same time, where I kind of look at the workflows and see how they can be done with most efficiency and everything. But then also in this leading position, I guess maybe for that I would even like hire someone else, because uh, you should do what you're best at. And I'm good at the technical stuff, but I may not be good at the marketing stuff and the stage stuff and everything. So perhaps I don't even have that ego that I say no, I need to be the CEO at any cost, So uh, that's for the short term, and for the long term, yeah, I'd love to have a circle of living souls, whether it be animals or humans, or even maybe my own children and their children after them, that are just around me when I'm old, and just celebrate me for all the great things I've brought to them in their life. So it definitely has to do, like my dad bad success thing definitely has to do with that I changed lives for the better and inspired other people to be great leaders and great persons and everything. And uh, of course, it would be the cherry on top if that would be your own children at the same time. because then my bloodline, my legacy could live on for the generation after me, you know. And I think like it's pretty massive that to think about that when you die without having children, then the bloodline that goes on for maybe hundreds or thousands of years just ends and there's no way back. So I used to think I don't want to have children, etc. But the more I think about this, the more I come to the conclusion that it's only it's only logical and natural that I will have children of my own, because all those other people before me, like my parents and my grandparents and my grandparents, I only live because they all decided to have children, right? So it would be kind of sad if your family bloodline ends with you, right? Because then that leaf of the tree is just cut off, you know, and there's no way to ever retrieve it or ever get it back to life, right? It just dies with you. And that's why I think I want to have children, but only with the right partner.
Oh, definitely only with the right partner. But yeah, I think you're right, man. Having children and then having grandchildren, great grandchildren, and so on is in a sort of way, it's like being immortal because your genes move on. In a way, you're still here. So, like in the same way, you are your great grandparents of today, in a way.
Exactly.
And also, like we talked about before, we have to be the change we want in the world. If we don't change ourselves, there's no point in wanting other people to change. And
Yeah.
if we can change ourselves and then mold our children to be awesome people as well, that will also affect other people in a good way, I think that's all we
Yeah.
can do, all we can strive for.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's a very great place, but also very challenging place. I think this planet Earth, you know, and living here, and I just hope that everyone is doing well. You know, I know that's not the case, but I also know that the media wants us to think that that's not the case. That we see all these wars going on, and that we think that everyone's kind of hostile, and that we need to watch our back at all times. But the truth is that 95% of the people are really genuinely good people, and we can make paradise on earth if we all just think a bit more about one another, but also not in an egocentrical way, not in a way where we be like, oh, this guy needs to do this and that so that I can feel safer, but more in a way that we just listen to one another and have understanding, but also respect our mutual boundaries, you know, not overstep them, and just lift each other up, you know. That's I think a great gift that we have as humans, is to produce something that wasn't there before, which is just like a collective energy that we can summon, and that we can uh, ride the wave.
Yeah, man, if only we could be a bit more open-minded and a bit less wary of other people, we'd be
Yeah,
able to achieve so much more. But instead, we're being pushed off away from each other and divided all the time by
yeah,
the smallest of differences.
yeah,
But we really shouldn't. Like you said, most of the people in the world are actually good people at heart. Of course, no one's perfect. We commit mistakes. We might
yeah.
be unjust sometimes, but at the end of the day, everyone's trying to do the right thing. They might commit mistakes, but not on purpose. And
And I mean,
yeah,
everyone
man.
has a different standing of doing the right thing. I mean, uh, some people think it's the right thing to trust in science at all times, and other people think it's the right thing to trust in intuition at all times. So how do you juggle that? You have the one guy that says you just have to go into yourself and solve all the problems there, and you have another person that says you have to, I don't know, supplement GA4 dot because it's the missing nutrient in our body, right? And you can never unite them. You can never get the intuitive person to say, okay, I will also take this science path now to do that. But it's also not the goal, I guess. I mean, it's okay to be different, right? It's okay that you have groups of people that get along with one another and that don't get along with another group, but you then can still decide with those two opposing groups, do they want to fight each other? Do they want to insult each other? And do they want to like be like, oh, this guy shit? Or do they want to still respect themselves just as individual groups? Just like I respect everyone that believes deeply in science, and I also like to be respected by those scientists, but I'm not, because the science people don't respect spirituality. But I also would like people then to respect me for my spirituality, you know. And you can only be the change you want to see, and that's why I try to pay respect to all the different uh, ways to live life, you know. And at the end of the day, just do what makes you happy as long as no one's hurt in the process.
Yeah, man. If only we could respect the differences and at least tolerate each other more, I think the
Yeah.
world will be such a different place. But like we talked about a lot earlier, maybe there are some differences that some people want us to think are greater than they are, so we get divided and easier to control.
Yeah.
But let's not
Yeah.
dive too much deep into that rabbit hole right now.
Yeah. Just maybe to summarize, if you have if you manage to get humanity turn onto one another, then they can't turn on the real enemy, which is the people that try to um, empty this earth of its resources and just want to keep their family legacy alive, and don't care about anything else in the process. So this division that's happening all around the world is controlled by the media and fueled by the media, and that's why I always like to say that uh, you should not allow this media to manipulate you into hating one other group or anything, because if you would get into contact with those groups or with those bad guys, you would figure out that they aren't that bad after all, and they have their own motives. And of course, it's all childish motives that everyone has in war. So they be like, yeah, this guy stole our land. No, it's our land. No, it's ours. But what I'm saying is, uh, don't let that division flow through your veins, that you get a hate on this group of people and a hate on that group of people, because that's exactly what the media is trying to do. And I think the antidote to that is to keep an open mind and an open conversation with everyone, you know, and not be like, no, I don't talk to this group or this guy because they are from the bad side. No, like, try it, make your own conclusions. Maybe your own conclusion is that those guys are bad, but then at least you figured it out yourself and not through the media.
Yeah, it's even this division of a good and a bad side is kind of dangerous. I remember now an ex-girlfriend of a friend of mine, and I think they were talking about the division of Berlin between the East and the West or something like that. And she asked him something like, okay, but is this the good or the bad side? And
Yeah, I mean,
I
what's
think
good?
the real world is much more complex.
Yeah, exactly. I
It's not
mean,
like a childhood story.
yeah. And also, as unfortunate as it is, life always means the polarity, right? Day and night, good and bad, etc. So you will not have paradise on earth in a way that you never have those bad traits anymore, like greed, anger, destruction, hate. All those emotions, they will not go anywhere because it's unfortunately part of this universe and this duality that we live in, that you can't have the one without the other, right? So we always try to categorize and be like, this is bad, this is good, this is bad, this is good. But the universe doesn't even make a difference. For the universe, it's all just is. It is. Point. There's no good or bad in the eyes of the universe. Like, even if this planet was to collapse and atomary bomb, whatever, whole all Earth goes to dust, then the universe doesn't say, "Oh, it's bad that this happened." No, it's like it then evolves, and the new life will come to life after a few million years. And for the universe, a few million years is nothing. So for us, it's the end of our existence and the existence of all the life that we know. But for the universe, it's just another thing, and after a few million years, there's life again, or not, who knows, right? But this duality that we as humans rightfully live in, right? Because we have to agree on what's good and what's bad. Otherwise, we would have people committing crimes and hurting other people without punishment. We don't want that, right? So this duality is good, but in the eyes of the universe, there is no good and bad. Like, if a planet explodes, the universe doesn't say, "Oh, that's bad." It's just change, and that's all it is. It's just one energy form to another energy form at the end of the day.
Yeah, we as humans, we need this even as cultural things, probably due to our evolution and living as tribes. And at that time, it might have made more sense to have this good and bad. And but to nature, to the universe, everything is pretty much neutral, like you were saying. Like, is a forest fire something good or something bad? Or is a hurricane good or bad? It's
Right.
just what it is.
It's just
It's just
energy.
the
Hmm.
physics of stuff. Yeah, the energy and movements. It's the water cycle. It's wind cycle. It's just is. But we try to rationalize everything or try to understand everything. And maybe some things we aren't made to understand. Maybe some things are among the human grasp. So we shouldn't even try to understand them.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, man, today we've got into some really deep conversations about
Yeah.
pretty much everything from culture, from government repression, from
So,
Bitcoin,
uh,
AI, and
yeah, yeah. I don't even know how you want to name this video. Like, the title. Um, Realistically, it must be something like talking about Montenegro, coding, AI, humankind, and Bitcoin, right? But I guess you can't release it like this, so you have to give it a better title, maybe more catchy, more focused. But I really enjoyed this long conversation we had, and yeah, it was great. And it was my first podcast, actually, so it was quite an experience for me. And yeah, I like it a lot, podcast.
yeah, dude, I'm loving it. And do you want to give some final thoughts, some final messages to anyone that's listening to us?
Yeah, so I don't want to sound like a woke guru here and give again this advice about life and how you should deal with it and everything. So my final words will just be yourself, and try to juggle all the hats that you are dealt with, and make the best out of it. And if you need help, then seek help from other people, from people on X, from people from your friend circle. Don't think that needing help is some form of weakness or anything, and just see this life as something very beautiful, and also don't take it too serious. We always beam ourselves into the main character position because we are all ourselves, right? So we always think, oh, if I do this and that, then this will lead to this and that. But at the end of the day, everyone's just busy with themselves most of the time. So uh, just don't take it too serious. Have fun, okay? And have a good time in this life. And yeah, that's it.
That's great, man. Boris, thank you so much for coming. Had a great time. I hope everyone listening to us or watching us had a great time as well. This was awesome, man.
Yeah, yeah, man, definitely. Let's maybe repeat it at some point. Who knows? But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's do it again.
Okay.